Uh, Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mail Right Show. Today is episode 272. Oh my God. Jonathan and I are going to be talking about the shows and the guests that we love the most for the year 2020. So, without any further ado, I'd like to let my brilliant, awesome, amazing co-host. He's really the host. I'm really the co-host, but nonetheless, I'm going to call him my co-host since I'm doing the introduction. And John, why don't you share with people, for those people who might be new to the show, who exactly you are?
I am the founder of MailRight. MailRight is a marketing platform specifically aimed to help real estate agents in their first, second, and third year. We use the power of Facebook, but also technology to get you quality leads.
Lovely. And my name is Robert Newman. For those of you that don't know me, I am a SEO guy that focuses on residential real estate. I have been doing so for many, many, many years, which makes me an anomaly that I've done it for so long. And you can learn more about me and actually lots of stuff that might help you on my website, which is inboundrem.com. All right, without further ado, John, what we're going to do today, as we previously discussed, is we're both going to take a look at the list of episodes that we had previously done. And we're each going to pick a few, and we're going to discuss what we either loved about the guest, the episode, maybe the information that was shared. I've already got a few set up if you don't, but I'm going to hand it off to you and say, hey, why don't you look through and find one? And if you don't have one, I have a couple I could talk about right off the top of my head.
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but I just thought last week's interview with Carl Hardy was just top quality. And Carl, I just thought I've got to publish it on the website. I'm a little bit behind, but I've got all the show notes and I'll be doing that later on today. But it goes live, the episode goes live today. I just got to email him. But I just thought he did a fantastic job really explaining what a real estate agent should do in those first 30 days. And he explained it really coherently and clearly. And then when we broadened out the discussion, he just had a really good knack of explaining things in a very clear way, didn't he, Robert?
Yes, but for those who are tuning into the show, they're not going to know who the last, like for the first time, they're not going to know who the guest was. So I will share that with them. Last week was Kyle Handy, who is a broker for EXP, and the show focused deeply on. Well, John and I were tossing him some questions. I agree with you that Kyle was a good guest. He was extremely polished. He was extremely driven. He was extremely excited. The show's content was really deeply related to, and it was part of the way that we steered the conversation. It was deeply focused on year one agents and talking a lot about EXP because we hadn't had a chance to talk about that guest. And because of all those things, even though Kyle was incredibly polished, I don't know that he would make one of my top lists. I'm going to say it was a great show. I agree with you entirely. Most of our shows are pretty great. But to say that he'd make it as a top show for this year, because 2020 has been an incredible year for us in the show. I don't know that it would make that list for me personally.
Right. Another one that kind of, I think it kind of stuck out for me because it kind of really showed the power of video, was our agent that resides in Montana, Will
Friedner, and that's
Friedner.
Episode 263. For those of you who are just catching this episode, that's Will, and I may be saying his name right. It's Friedner. And Will is an agent in Montana, as John is talking about. And I do agree with you. If I had to put, Will would be one of my top shows for the entire year. I totally agree with you on this one.
I'm not being disparaging. Because he had an easygoing way with him, but he really understood precisely what he was doing. not only with his videos, but with his Facebook groups. That's why I rated it so highly, because not only was he talking about two things, he was actually getting results. And he was running a really very popular Facebook group about Montana, a local group aimed at businesses in his sphere interest. And then he was using video to attract people who were thinking of moving to Montana out of state. And he was crushing it. And he gave us some figures, didn't he? He was crushing it in both ways, wasn't he?
He was. So he had over 1 million views. His Facebook groups, which actually he had started running before he'd even started doing video, were also generating him a lot of leads. He created some of the very first attended Facebook groups talking about basically lifestyle in Montana, living in Montana. He effectively created the groups, like neighborhood groups on Facebook, before anybody else did. So he got out in front of an entire marketplace, not once, but more than once, using different tools, which made him a rock star, because Will figured this out on his own. He's not, I agree with you. His presentation is easygoing. He does not come off as some kind of super educated tech guru type. He is just a guy that likes to get his leads a different way, and that's from his own language. And so he figured out ways. He's like, how do I go to where the people are? So he went to Facebook and he went to YouTube, and he started to basically kind of engage with people and figure out what he could talk about. And he did.
And they weren't super slick videos, but they were videos. They were up to a certain standard. Everything he does is up to a certain standard, but they're just filled with the kind of information that you would want to know if you were moving from out of state to Montana, wasn't it?
Yep. So definitely, if for those of you tuning in just for this show, tune in to that show. Okay, it was a good show. It was informative. The guest was easygoing, easy to digest, nothing complicated, no huge scary pedigree that makes you think that whatever he's doing you couldn't possibly do yourself. I strongly recommend that you check that show out. Really one of my favorite shows of the year, if not my very favorite show of the year, because of the quality of the information that was being presented.
So you got one? So you got one?
I got a curveball, because normally this is not what I enjoy. Now, we did a show that was personality based. Guy really didn't share all the information. I actually discovered that he kind of directly hid some of his success from us. And that was Peter Lorimer from PLG Estates, which is a big brokerage here in California. He has 100, 200, 300 agents in Southern California. The guy just has this incredible personality.
He does. And of course, he's fabulous because also he's British, isn't he?
He's British. He comes off like a rock star. He's done business with rock stars.
Well, he has, hasn't he?
Oh, God, yeah, he has. So I found out later, John, that actually part of what drives his lead generation success is he's been partnered with Ylopo for a while. He's one of their key accounts, and they do a lot with him on his site. So actually all of his, because remember we asked where's your business coming from? We asked him if it was from the TV. So he did a reality TV show. Again, it's just because of his personality. That's why he did the show. That's how he got put on camera. He just has this amazing personality, which would be insanely hard for most of our clients.
Have I got an amazing personality, Robert?
That's one way to put it.
All right.
Not just
I take that as a compliment coming from Robert. All right, there we go. High praise, actually. No, sorry, I just couldn't resist it.
It's okay. So anyway, if you just want to see, if for those of you who might be charisma-based salespeople, and they exist, they're just not the normal. They're not the normal among us. Okay, but there are charisma-based salespeople. There's charisma-based business people. This episode that we're talking about is 257. Take what Peter says with a grain of salt. because I really strongly think that that a lot of what he does, like, is just so personality based. Like, he's talking about being on social media a lot. He talked about all his agents being on social media. I doubt that he really directs them or teaches them what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that he is probably an enormously successful charisma persuasion-based salesperson. And because he stood out, I'm going to say he's one of my top shows, not because of the informational content, though, just because he's different and he was unusual.
And to lead on to something, an individual that's the totally opposite, but it's a bit sad, this one, is that John Griffin came back on the show, and John had been on the show about 3 times, hadn't he? And you informed me that unfortunately he recently has died. But he was in personality types totally different to Peter, but a highly experienced broker, agent, somebody that really had very down to earth, but wrote a book, put most of it on the internet. You could tell he really knew his business, didn't he?
Yep. So that was John Geffen. John Geffen unfortunately passed from COVID. For all of those listening to this show, oh, please do yourself a favor. Honor this man while you still can, and go check out doyouhaveaminutebook.com. The guy is literally the exact opposite than Peter. He was all substance. And what I mean by that is that he produced a massive amount of tangible tools that his salespeople and his team could go out and use. He literally built the fastest growing, most prevalent real estate brand in Tennessee. He is the director of broker services for Benchmark, or was previously. And Benchmark is absolutely one of the fastest growing real estate concerns in the state of Tennessee. I am personally convinced it's 100% because of John. If you work there, I feel like you're going to have a ton of support. Even experienced agents wouldn't be able to get their hands on assets like he was producing for his team. His Do You Have a Minute book was actually aimed at educating his sales team. So it was an incredible book, and an incredible guy. And
I liked him straight away. He's really really down to earth, but really knew his business. Another one that comes to mind that I really like, and she's been on the show a couple of times, is Dr. Lee Davenport. She's based in Atlanta. She's been on the show twice. I'm going to have to ask her to come back. Very different, also a very unique type of personality, but she's female. She is a doctor, not a doctor of medicine, but she did her doctorate. Really knows her stuff, and really with loads of information and insights, hasn't she?
Yeah, that's a good way to take this conversation chain, John, because like Dr. Lee actually combined, now that I think about it, she kind of combined Geffen and Peter.
Yeah.
She has the personality. The girl has a million volt personality, or the girl, what am I saying? The woman has a million volt personality. And on top of that, she always brings deep knowledge that not even you and I are usually familiar with. She's done it twice in a row. We've tried to throw her curveballs, guys. And this is episode number 253 for those of you keeping track. This was our last meeting with Dr. Lee Davenport. We ended 2019 with our first meeting with Dr. Lee Davenport, and she is amazing. She's amazing. You should check out the shows. She always has something good to share.
Yeah, she really did. And I'm going to put another one in front of you. I know it's your turn, but it's somebody that you know really, really well, is Christopher Chu. You got him to come on the show. And what I learned, Christopher, highly successful, Hollywood-based, multi-million-dollar real estate agent, somebody that's been in the business a long time. But what he kind of really got the charisma, but also really pointed out in the episode the amount of hard work that you've got to do to get where he has managed to get. And I think he really kind of emphasized the amount of graft that he had to do to get in to the position which he is blessed to be in now, you know, based on his talent and his ability, obviously, but also he kept on emphasizing it, the amount of work involved, didn't he?
Yeah, no, that's definitely part of Christoph's brand, is his work ethic. You know, he does not necessarily carry some of the weird surface shimmer that some of these LA super luxury agents
They do.
have. He's definitely more of a substance guy, but one of those things that he does do, and I have been present for it. I've literally been in his office at 7 o'clock in the morning. The guy works from 7 to 7, 6 to 7 days a week, every day. He's works hard.
He's a machine, isn't he?
Yeah, he just likes what he does, and he mixes a lot of stuff up with work, like because he's definitely going out and getting his his pedicures and his facials during the day. He has long lunches with clients. So it's not like, yes, for sure, he's a super hard worker, but one of the things I like about him is he mixes a lot of lifestyle up in those work hours. Like, he's definitely focused on something, though, that pertains to his career at, from 7 to 7 every day. Even that, if that's a long lunch with somebody that he's catching up with, you can be sure that one of those relationships that he's nurturing is somebody who could propel him forward.
Yeah. Can I do another one? Because sure. It's old Ricky Carruth. You know, Ricky. talk about the opposite again. I can see why our numbers have gone up a lot, because we've had some excellent guests, haven't we? Now, Ricky's also a really hard worker. You know, he's very different to Jew, really, you know, in personality, but he's on the Gold Coast, still sells a lot of property, got into coaching. If he decides to do something, he really means business, doesn't he? He don't mess around, Ricky, does he? I think he's stirred up the coaching business a bit, and he's not shy in saying what he thinks. But and you could just say, well, he's just a blowhard, but he isn't, because not only has he got superb results in his own real estate career, he's really starting to get a lot of attention in the coaching area as well, isn't he?
He is. So we're going to go to our break, folks. And when we come back, I'm going to share with you what the episode number was for Christoph Chu, because that is definitely one of my top 10. I probably put it at number 3. I spent 10 years nurturing the relationship with Christoph to get him on the show in the first place. And so there's definitely something I want to say there. And I want to comment on Ricky too. But let's go to our break, and we'll come back in a second. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Mail-Right Show. It's episode 272. Jonathan and I are doing a roundup of our favorite shows from 2020, and we were just discussing, we'd actually moved off Christoph Chu, but I promised you the episode number, since John did bring him up. The episode number was 250, for those of you interested in Christoph Chu is the top video influencer in all of real estate, in my opinion. Okay, if you want to learn something about doing video and being in real estate and selling real estate, that's the guy to watch. And this is the episode number 250 is a great way to go. He's got more content than Will. He's got a different take on it. And for those of you who are listening who either already are in luxury or want to get in luxury, Will won't resonate with you, but Christoph will. He sold an estimated $300 million worth of real estate straight off video. In this is the episode where he talks about how he did it. 250. So go watch it. Now, to comment on your comments about Ricky Carruth. So Ricky Carruth was episode number 246. And I would put him at number 4 or 5 for me for the year. Not because he wasn't incredible and an insanely great guest, and he's wildly influential, but because he's still focused on strategies that are a little bit more old school.
Yeah.
So the value of the information itself is not necessarily as high, in my opinion, as those who are trying to focus on digital, because I do think that digital is the wave of the future. But however, for those of you that are out there that are looking for a down and dirty, how do I produce business tomorrow kind of skill set, Ricky Carruth is the guy to check out. You get on he shows you how to get on the phone, start making calls. You could watch some of his videos. And if you had a little bit of chutzpah, you could literally get on the phone in a couple of days and start hammering out calls, doing it the way that Ricky does, and have a reasonably good chance of generating yourself some business. Would you agree with that, John?
Yes, totally. Everything you've said about that, I totally agree. Another one that's totally different in personality than all the other guests, well, maybe more like John, is we had, I'm going to butcher his surname, and Chad Baziak, from he's the CEO of IDX.
Barzak. Yeah.
Barzak. He's the CEO, founder of IDX Broker. You could tell a very experienced business individual, keeps a low profile to some extent, but has built up some fabulous businesses and built up a fabulous business in the real estate industry, really, hasn't he?
He really has. So Chad, for those people listening, is a guy that he's the CEO of IDX Broker. Now, IDX Broker is a company that a lot of web developers like me and John use on our website services. I use them exclusively. He's created an incredible service if you happen to be a developer, serving up properties and doing lots of different things. But his take, so from his relevance inside the real estate industry, he is one of our biggest gets all year long, is definitely Chad, because Chad is a huge name inside the real estate business. And that was something that that John pulled together. So I'm going to take the reins, though, because you've been proffering up your long series of them, and I'm going to go farther back. We're coming in close to the beginning of the year now. So I'd say that Chad for me was about number 8 throughout the course of the year, and the episode number for Chad was 244. And you're right, by the way, in why the traffic is growing. We've been getting some amazing guests, just amazing guests. Now, one of those guys that flew under the radar that is so influential right now in real estate is Malcolm Lawson. He runs a Facebook group of people doing nothing but real estate video that's about 4,000 people deep. It's on Facebook. And I would say that he's personally responsible for helping people generate at least a few thousand transactions, which makes him one of the most helpful, influential humans that's operating inside the real estate business, because he did all of that for free. I don't know if you know that, John, but he doesn't charge any money for that group.
No, I didn't know that.
So Malcolm is, and I'm part of that group, which is how I know all this. I watch all the people in there, and what he's doing is he's teaching people how to leverage YouTube to get traffic and get leads. That's what he's doing. And he does a great job at it, or else his group wouldn't be so big. Now, he does offer some coaching services, but I think I have literally never even seen him mention them. I just happen to know that. So I got to put him up there. For me, he's episode number 2. Like, he's really, he's right below maybe Will and some of those other guys. I like Will's down-to-earth presentation. Malcolm is a little more technical and a little harder to approach in terms of his personality, or he was for us. I've seen him do some of his own shows, and I just think he was having an off day when he did our show. So he wasn't as,
It was probably me.
I'm not gonna.
I'll tell you another one that impressed me with his knowledge. The only criticism you could say is that some of his mythology is a little bit old-fashioned, why they're not digital. But when it came to knowledge and smoothness, or that really knew his stuff, and you could tell he's been in the wars, is Michael Hellikinson.
Hellenbeck. So now we're back to one of the guys that made my top 7 podcasts. The guy is a real estate legend, whether it's of his own creation or not, broken all sorts of records. But when you see the show, if you listen to the show, and that one is episode, let me see here. That was episode 236,
yeah.
Right at the beginning of the year. We're right at the beginning of the year now. This is how we kicked off 2020. John managed to secure some rock stars right at the beginning of the year. Michael Hellickson was one of them, in my opinion. And John, what I liked about him was, I don't think that you and I have ever seen somebody come onto the show so prepared and ready to have a particular conversation. That's how I felt about the show. Like when he came on and started talking, I was like, dear God, man. Like he felt like he was at the top of his game. Did you feel the same way about it?
Oh, definitely. You could tell why he's been really successful, and he had a good story as well about, how he fell out with his state regulators and how they made his life a bit of a nightmare, and the mistakes he made. He realizes now that he got some bad legal advice, and that cost him his brokerage and the nightmare he had to go through. And he was so frank about it all, really, wasn't he? But then, as he talked about his coaching and his kind of comeback to some extent, you could tell there wasn't a lot of bullshit. It all had the ring of truth to it to some degree, didn't it?
It really did. It really did. I think that we have to close out the roundup, because I'm pretty sure that we're at the very...
Yeah, we're getting cut. It's gone quick. Just one other one. I think it was still in 2020, and I will ask him back in the new year, because he's been on the show a couple of times, and I think you like him. Is Zach Hammer?
Zach Hammer, yes, he's always a solid guest. Don't know that he'd ever be in the top 10 for me, because and like I said, this is one of those ways that we're definitely gonna differ. We're gonna swerve a little bit. Again, right.
So did you mention who your top one was?
Yes, I did. I think we did at the very beginning of the episode. We both agreed on it. Maybe it was Will Friedner.
Yeah.
In terms, I think it might be Will Friedner. That show with Will Friedner, even though it was more recent, so it's fresher in my mind. I think that it was number one for me because he is the everyman and he presents himself like the everyman. Like, I really think that in terms of content that we've done that is impactful and digestible, he's one of the better shows that we've ever done, because he's just approachable. Like you said, he doesn't come off as saying it's all that complicated. He talks about his $20 camera, and it was talking to us, except that we were a real estate agent in Montana. And he even talks about how grim the place is to live. Like, his honesty and his sense of truth was incredible. Like, that he's like, I don't know that many people who really want to live in Montana if they knew what it was like to live in Montana. And that was amazing. I think it was a great show.
Yeah, I think just to wrap it up, I agree with you, actually, because
I've got one. You gotta
right.
let me wrap up. Now you say what you gotta say, but let me do the wrap up.
Yeah, sure. Is that everything he did is he's a smart cookie, really knows, really driven, really, you don't realize how driven he is. He's got a really laid back way, but you can tell he really thinks things out. He looks at all the angles and he works it out. But everything he did is totally possible for any other agent to do.
Yeah, he really did it. He did it with a simple set of tools and a simple philosophy. And that's what I liked about the show. It was approachable. A lot of what I say to people, a lot of what I recommend is more about approachability of the information, approachability of the content. It's not so much that we haven't done other content or other people haven't done more. You know, Christoph sold 10 times more real estate than Will probably ever will. But he's also makes it seem a little complicated, and he talks about doing 6-hour photo shoots and just all the incredible stuff that he does. So if you're looking at what Christoph does from the outside, you may find it to be a little bit unapproachable. You're like, wow, that's too difficult for me. I didn't get that feeling from Will at all. That's why I liked it so much. If he kind of felt like, yeah, you got a camera, you know, you could do this. That's kind of like that's how I felt. I'm not saying he said that. I'm just saying that's how I felt about it. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up with we go all the way back to the beginning of the year. And John managed to get us this insane guest. He got us the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer of BombBomb, which is definitely one of the cutting edge marketing companies. If you pay any attention whatsoever to real estate marketing stuff, you will have heard of BombBomb. And the CMO is this guy by the name of Stephen Pacelli. And I'm going to put this one at about number, I don't know where I've numbered everything, but this is episode 232, and it's somewhere maybe 5 or 6 for me. I again used this episode in my Legends of Real Estate podcasting. I also created a YouTube video around this episode. Steve probably gave us one of the very best tips that anybody has ever given us on the show ever, full stop, where he explained not just how to do video, but how to do a particular kind of video using tools that anybody has, but you wouldn't think to use them. And he gave us an example of somebody who sold $9 million worth of real estate using these tools. Now, here we are almost 12 months later, John, and I have my very first customer doing videos like he suggested. I finally found somebody who's going to copy the strategy. So I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen, but I really suspect that we're going to watch these videos excel on YouTube and that they're going to make my client a lot of money.
Oh, and then I forgot his name, just to finish off. Then we had your one of your clients, I forgot his name, the agent from Delaware.
Ray Petkevis, the number one performing real estate
Ray, and he talked about the thing that stuck in my mind was the fire engine story. That was a talk about guerrilla marketing put onto a slightly different level. That's a story, isn't it?
Yeah, his heart is broken that he doesn't get to do the fire engine this year because of COVID. Like, he is just crushed. Ray Petkevis in that episode, who is one of my clients. I'm very blessed to be able to call him a client. He is definitely somebody that show is something to tune into. Ray's success, like the way that he does it, the way that he approaches it, it's a little bit hard to emulate. I don't use him a lot in terms of my day-to-day conversations with people because of shit like the fire truck, because he goes out and buys a fire truck and then drives it around to Christmas and hands off Christmas gifts off the back of it, which was incredibly successful. I thought it would have been a joke in terms of a marketing strategy, and boy, was I wrong. I have rarely called something so wrong as I called that marketing stunt. I mean, it was the middle of winter and kids and parents were out in their robes. I was there for that one. And they were out in their robes on the street chasing around this fire truck. I've never seen anything like it. He called his audience so much better than I ever could have. So Yeah,
Yeah,
kudos to
so
Ray.
we need to wrap it up. But before we do, I just want to say thank you so much, Robert, for being my co-host. I think we've had a fabulous year. We've had some great internal discussions. And by this episode, we've actually had some fantastic guests. So I want to thank them as well. But personally, I want to thank you for staying on the show and being my co-host.
Thank you, John. I'm so glad that you inspired me to do this. I think I would, now that I understand what podcasting is all about, what the value is, I think I would continue on. But you're the one who got me to participate in the first place. And I'm super grateful that you did. And I've stuck with it because I think it provides huge value. And for those of you listening to the show, I want to add my voice to John's and say, God, we appreciate you so much for tuning in and giving us your time. We're really grateful. And if any of you ever have anything that you'd like to see us talk about, please let us know. If any of you think you
Well,
have a
that would be
story,
fabulous if they gave us some people or ideas that they would like us to either interview or discuss. That would be fabulous, wouldn't it, Robert?
it would be incredible. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. You can, John, how can people find you if they want to?
Oh, the easiest way is to go to the MailRight website. It's got a phone number on there. You can ring it up anytime, can discuss anything you want, any kind of advice or anything, just contact us through the website.
And I'm going to say the same thing. It's inboundrem.com, ladies and gentlemen. And I have about 50 or so deep articles on various topics, real estate systems. I talk about a lot about lead generation. So you can tune in there about lead generation. And my name is Robert Newman. And once again, John and I, happy holidays. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.